Lillian, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So let's begin our journey into your work by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic we were really in the throes of it, figuring it out. How much of living through a pandemic has influenced the way that you live life and conduct things? How much of that has reverberated into your life today?
Oh, that's literally the journey I'm going through right now. And it's so crazy to think because I've been reflecting. Just a couple of days ago, my husband and I got in a very not so good argument.
Hmm.
And it just made me, we don't fight a lot and we don't argue a lot. So, like, when it happens, it's irritating. And it makes me really do a lot of self-reflection. And one of the things I noticed, and am still noticing, is that the pandemic, I launched my book in the middle of the pandemic, which is kind of weird. Why did I choose that? Not really sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first thing. And then the second thing is I didn't really go on a book tour, right?
Right.
I didn't like do all the things that I was preparing to do. So all of a sudden, like this big expansive energy of sharing this with the world and teaching the world became like this very intimate, almost questioning type of energy, and then I had all these people that loved me and I loved them, and my business was at the highest point, and it made me rethink everything because I wasn't scared of the pandemic. I know a lot of people were, but I wasn't because I don't mind to experiment on myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't follow the norm. I've always kind of been out of the box. I just that's just more me.
Yeah.
But it did make me do a lot of self-reflection, like, what do I want out of my life? What do I want with my business? What do I want from my clients? What do I want for my clients?
Yeah.
Where am I? And it's so funny because the self-reflection really does automatically shift your business
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
And just having that reflection and that time alone, my business changed immediately. I
Yeah.
went from the revolving door hourly consultation clientele to just like, hmm, who's coming? Who's scared? Who's sick? Who's not?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was so strange. And then 2 years later, no, 3 years later, I dislocated my left shoulder. And I did it in my own yoga class, not doing anything hard. Remember, like the swimmer position we used
Yeah.
to do as kids?
Yeah.
Okay, that my shoulder just popped out doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it made me look at my business again. What is the universe trying to tell me?
Hmm.
I had just dislocated my shoulder. My student had to bring me to the ER room. I had a surgery 1 week later, six ties in my shoulder, like a full process. And I had already been making changes in my business. Like, okay, do I want hourly clients? Do I want a community? How can I help more people? How can I be more global? What is this COVID trying to teach us? From being our little isolated healers behind closed doors, healing people, to how can I share the message to
Yeah.
help more people?
So let me ask you this. On paper, you're the master manifester and love guru, but if I was to put you in front of a bunch of kids, 12-year-olds, career day, one of the kids in the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I teach you how to find joy in your life and live like a kid, like even through your adult life.
Yeah. The wonder. So let me ask you this. What did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream life?
So I wanted to be a dancer.
Okay.
I wanted to be a dancer. I wanted to be a Janet Jackson dancer, if you
Okay.
want to be specific.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There you go.
Rhythm Nation.
Uh-huh.
Do, 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 do.
I remember.
I really wanted to be on MTV. And then after Janet Jackson Dancer, I had this idea. So I'll throw it out there. And if you and I see it manifesting on TV, then you'll know it's my idea,
Uh-huh.
right? But I wanted to be on Yo MTV Raps, but
Okay.
I wanted to do weddings for Yo MTV Raps and show people how they can get married with rap stars, like in the front while you're walking down the
Yeah.
aisle.
Yeah. I mean, there's all these derivatives of MTV. It can work. It can absolutely work. I mean,
Let's do it, Joe. Let's do it.
right, what's hipper than retro? Like I always had this idea of why don't they have a network called the commercial network and it's all commercials all the time. So during Super Bowl time, it's all the Super Bowl commercials. Okay?
Yes.
Then one like during the day it's soap opera ads throughout the history of soap operas. Or it's the history of like prime time when they got really big. And like and then talking to all the people and it's like it's the snake that feeds its own tail. It's like you're talking about commercials while you play commercials. That would why didn't Ted Turner do that? Why did that not happen?
I don't know. And why did we get rid of cable?
I
And we were
know.
complaining at $100 a month, and now we all pay over two for all the streaming services, and then you still miss the Met Gala.
I remember landing and I we landed in Orlando last summer about a half hour, 45 minutes early, and I was like, wow. And I remember that there was a hang up at the gate, and the pilot said, no good deed goes unpunished. And we literally waited for 20 minutes past when we would have gotten there. There's always a way on the back end that things can be like, it seems great up front. Like I remember YouTube TV when I got it a few years ago, 5 years ago, it was like it was cheap. And
Yeah.
now it's like incrementally gone up and then channels have gone away. So one way or another, you're right about the cable thing. It's gonna
That's
get
so
you.
funny. So my husband uses that exact line that you just said. No good deed goes unpunished. I mean, always like I'm like, what does that mean? I'm always like, what does that mean? And what how does that and is that aligned with the universal energy? Like I have all these questions about it, but I
Yeah,
get it. I mean, I
yeah.
do get it.
No, I think the same thing. Like I understand it's like this cliche thing we hear all the time, but when that happened that moment, I'm like, I get it now. It like all I needed to do was see it happen, and now I understand.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yeah,
So
it is wild.
So let me ask you this. Take me back to your childhood and with the dreams of dancing and being creative and performing. How did you get to this point? What were the seeds that were planted that have allowed you to help people get to a better place in their lives?
So I have such a vivid memory of going to ADF, and I lived for 6 weeks at Duke University and they still have this program. It's freaking amazing. Okay. And I had the greatest teachers from all over the world. And I remember learning primitive dance or real African dance.
Yeah,
And I found my love around, well, I thought it was going to be for ballet, which I did love. I loved ballet. But then we moved into modern dance, which they don't even have anymore except in New York City
yeah.
and probably LA. But Martha Graham, their studio is still there and it's amazing. I'm trying to get my daughter for a summer camp this summer. But I remember going to ADF and they would tell us to bring our journals and we would do improv dance and journal our feelings and then improv it out and journal some more.
Yeah.
And can you imagine? I was such a journaler. I had the journals that I would hide from my mom, and write all about the boys and da da da. I was very into boys, like, ooh, this, all the feelings, a lot
Yeah.
of we didn't have all that distraction. So it was like I had a lot of guy friends and a lot of boys, but it wasn't that I was promiscuous, but it was just like all these feelings were coming up, and my mom, it was that generation where they didn't really talk. They gave you a book to read.
Yeah.
It's like, here's where all your holes are.
Yeah.
Here's what your feelings could be.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and so when I went to dance camp and I had to journal, I was like, I was a pro. I'm like, I got this. And then you want me to dance my feelings out and I'm angry about my teenage boyfriend that just dumped me for another girl. You want me to dance that out? I got this.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we don't do that anymore. It's like competition because my son dances and my daughter danced and they both dance competitively. And, he's also out of the norm. He's an 11-year-old dancer and
Yeah.
he's good.
Hmm.
And they don't journal out their feelings and talk about, how to dance it out. And I think that brought on my intuition. I think that brought my creativity. And I think that's what we're missing. And I think that's where my seeds were. You asked, like, where did my garden start? It started with a journal.
Yeah.
And then it went into dance and the journal, and then it went into my adult life. And my mom never really wanted to know all the details of anything. She was a don't ask, don't tell kind of mom.
Yeah.
Okay. But she did write the checks for me to go to the places to have the experiences.
Yeah.
And that was so, instead of being resentful of like, oh, my mom's not the cool mom and my mom's not having parties, you went to bed at 8 o'clock. And if you made a noise, we called her the dragon lady and she came out and she got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she sent me to Duke University with a friend of mine to dance for 6 weeks to like learn how to be an adult,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, my stepdaughter was in that competitive dance world, and it is a bizarre world. There is just so much that goes on the back end of it that like it's wild. And I would think
Wild.
journaling and writing, because I've written my whole life, is a real therapeutic. It's like having a little therapist on your shoulder all the time, because you do need that
Yes.
mirror in front of you. You do need to have that moment of understanding who you are. And when you get it out and put it out there, it really kind of good, bad, ugly, beautiful, miraculous. It's just something that needs to get out. And I don't think that those kids now that are in that world do that because we're so competitive. Everything is about being the best, being number
Oh,
one, getting trophies, instead
yeah.
of what is this going to do to enrich you to get to another point. Because I think about Jilly now, like, she's not in that world anymore. She got out, and a lot of young girls, especially, have all these injuries. They've just pushed their bodies to such a point that
Oh, yeah.
once you get to be a teenager, they're old women, kind of. They're
Yes.
nursing all of these injuries. So, what did you get from a psychological, emotional standpoint that is going to help you go out into the world and work and raise a family and do all these things? And it sounds like what you were doing with journaling and acting it out and doing it in a healthy way that makes sense to me.
Also, like we weren't afraid of rejection. Okay, so I'm 5'6", I'm white, I'm blonde. I was like the middle.
Yeah,
I was like the vanilla.
yeah,
And so then these girls came when I went to ADF. I mean, they're gorgeous. They're from all over the world. They have legs for days. They have
yeah,
arms for days. They're 5 inches taller than me. I became like middle to like nothing.
yeah,
And it was very humbling. And I was like, wow, I thought I was good. I actually suck,
yeah,
and the rejection really teaches you so much about how to be resilient
yeah,
and how to be, try again, try again, try again. And in my coaching with women, I mean, I'm always like, okay, well, try this, do that, try this. And a lot of them fall out because they don't want to keep trying.
yeah,
And a lot of them are like, okay, I tried that. It worked.
yeah,
And I'm like, always use your words. Don't use mine. I
yeah,
mean, you can take a one or two from me, but like, it's for you.
yeah,
Like, use your words, see if it works. Try this, try that. And the ones that keep trying, I mean, I have a little tiny success story, but I mean, it was just, she was like, we found her a rental house and she was leaving him and there was no hope. He was, addicted to all the things, on the screen, and there was no emotion, no connection, no nothing. And I mean, we have dug so deep in her and brought it all out with journaling and resiliency, and it's okay to be rejected. Try again. And it's like yesterday we're sitting and she's like, I don't think I'm going to renew the rental house. And I was like, I don't think you should either.
yeah,
It's amazing. Like you've come so
yeah,
far,
yeah, yeah, totally.
like so far.
So speaking of that, coming so far, you're helping people, you're operating as an inspirational force, coaching them through things. Who has that been for you? Who has been that inspirational force that's allowed you to grow into your role of who you are in life?
Well, I think it starts with your parents and my grandparents, because my grandparents were um, very inspirational as far as wealthy, very wealthy. Okay. And so I got to see their lifestyle was just mind blowing.
Yeah,
So fun, right? Traveling and all this stuff, and really highly educated. Okay, and so very exciting.
yeah,
Then I had my parents super poor. I mean, dirt poor.
yeah,
Okay. We were like, are we gonna Amway, and are we going to have to borrow money to pay this? And I was just like, this is wild. I'm living like two different
Yeah.
lives right now, right? And then it was like I had to find the teachers because I didn't want to be my grandparents and I didn't want to be my parents. I wanted to be me. So trying to find the teachers that would cultivate what makes me different, what makes me unique, who am I, right? And so I moved out to Colorado and lived there for 12 years from the South, from being in the South forever. And these teachers, they just found me. I found them. It was like a symbiotic moment. It was amazing. And I learned psychic and mediumship out there, which was so taboo down
Sure.
here at that time, right?
Sure. Sure.
I mean, it's the Bible Belt down here. So it's like if you weren't at church, which I did go to church 3 times a week, but that wasn't filling my soul.
Yeah.
So the teachers in Colorado really opened my eyes up, and I'm forever, and I still keep in touch with them.
Yeah.
I still keep in touch with them. They really fostered my intuition and taught me about spirit guides and universal language and how to, even though you're going through the shit, or you know it's like you're still trying to be positive and you're still trying to find like the source energy. I
Yeah.
didn't understand any of that here down in the South. None of that.
So how do you balance this life of getting into people's lives to help them get better, but in the process it can be deep, it can be heavy. How do you protect yourself? How do you evolve? How do you take care of your soul? So essentially every day, what is your motivation to wake up to help your clients, but to also take care of yourself?
Yeah. Okay, so I it's so funny. I knew you were going to ask me this.
I love it.
I was literally like sitting about to, log on and talk to you, and I was like, I wonder if what I'm going through right now, because it's kind of gloomy. I told you I've been in an argument with my husband for a couple days, and we like to have kind of silent arguments, not outward arguments. And
Sure.
and I was like, should I cancel? Should I reschedule? Because I'm not really. And then I was like, no, this is why the universe puts me through certain things
Yeah.
so that when I come out of it, because I know I will, I always do. That's just me. That is one of my unique features. I just don't sit in my pity party for too long. And I do always enlist help. And so the answer that I heard when I was making my coffee about to talk to you was, you got to tell people how you build your support system.
Yeah.
I build a support system. I have, like, I just got back from PT before I talked to you. I had morning PT for 2 hours, working on my shoulder range of motion.
Yep.
And then I meditated before I went to PT for 15 minutes. I made sure the house was clean and the incense was lit before I called you.
Yeah.
I have a massage open in my browser, ready to go get, right?
Yep.
And then I have my meditation book open for a second meditation because I know I'm going to need it,
Yeah.
right? And then I go through this because I need to feel the pain of what some of my clients are feeling.
Yeah.
And I understand that this is happening for me, not to me,
Yeah.
so that I can help other people.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you go through it. It
Yeah. I
really
get it.
sucks.
Yeah. I totally get it.
Yeah, you're just like, ugh, why is this happening to me? And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm the teacher. It's happening for me so that I have the tools to help them.
Absolutely. So
And that's the biggest thing.
yeah, no, I love that answer because that's totally true. It's like in any profession, it's like you have to live it. That's the only way that you can teach it. So
Yes.
let's up the amperage here with a little fun story. So let's say you get to a
Yeah.
room of all the clients that you've had in your life, and that can be serious, a lot of serious stuff. And
Yeah.
you swim through that group of people, you go up to a podium, and you can tell them one fun story, one fun anecdote, jumping out of a plane, the first concert that you ever saw, the biggest risk that you ever took, some fun story about you and your life that would humanize you in a way to your clients. What fun story would you tell that room?
Humanized me, huh?
Well, or just cast you in a light that's not so like in such a professional light. They would be like, I didn't know that about you. That's really fun. That's cool.
That's tough.
It can't, yeah, it's a tough question.
That is a tough question. Okay, so I think the biggest thing that was the biggest life changer for me is being able to up and move. And so after college, I knew I wanted to go out west. And so I started applying for internships out west. I got it down to like California, Utah, Colorado. And so I called my best friend that we had kind of been on the rocks, but then we had a death in our friend group and it brought us back together. She was in Texas and I was in Georgia. I graduated from University of Georgia and my other girlfriend in Georgia that I lived with. And I said, hey, do y'all want to move out to Colorado? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, my internship starts in 2 weeks. So you're going to have to miss graduation and I'll pick you up. And so I came down to Louisiana with one girlfriend and I had a Honda Civic. And my grandpa said, you can't take a Honda Civic to Colorado. I'm like, why? And he's like, just take my car. And I was like, you drive a minivan. And he's like, yeah, but it's a nice minivan. And I was like, it was a Chrysler Town and Country. Remember
Oh
those?
yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And he goes, no, I'll just take your car and you can take the mini. I said, I'm 20 years old. I cannot drive a minivan. And he's like, it's either this or nothing. And I was like, oh, okay, guess I'm getting a minivan. So I gave him my Honda Civic. Actually, my stepdad took my Honda Civic, and that Honda Civic lived for 20 more years. I
Wow.
packed my stuff full of the Chrysler Town and Country minivan, picked my girlfriend up in Texas. She dropped out of school, and we went and drove to Winter Park, Colorado, and I unlocked our house on the top of the hill, moved us all in, and she got married there. The other one went to law school. She's now a very important partner at PwC. And I lived there for 12 years and we all
Wow.
found ourselves.
What a great story. See, that's one of the best answers I've gotten from that. What a great story. So, when you look at your life of everything that you've done, accomplished, and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
I'm the proudest of my kids.
Yeah.
Because I love being a mother. That's my number one passion. So I have an 18-year-old and an 11-year-old, and then I have three stepchildren, bonus children that are older.
Yeah.
And when I got remarried, we blended the family together. We had all five in the house. And so we have a his, mine, and an ours. So we have really like the spaghetti pot,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I'm very proud that my family was also blended. My parents were also divorced. I had seven brothers and sisters, and I had the skills and the tools to keep our family together, our second family together. And everybody is gets along. They're well adjusted. Everybody's made it out of college and out of the house and with a job. And it's just nice. Like we can come back and hang
Yeah.
out as adults and have dinner together and lunch. And I'm really proud of that. Like that's hard to
That's a
do.
huge deal. Believe me, I know blended families are a lot. I remember when I started my journey in 2000. Well, it was before that, but really in earnest around 2018, 19. A good friend of mine said it takes about 2 or 3 years to really and I'm like,
Yes.
what? Wait, hold on a second. You sure? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big deal. That's a huge thing to be proud of. So I'm going to dig a little further into that and ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I am definitely a leader. I definitely lead by trial by error, though, and I'm not afraid to do that. So I don't do it out of fear and control. I do it more like, wait, hold on, my bangs are going. I do more like, let's try this, and if that doesn't work, we'll try this. And instead of I don't want to try that. That may hurt. I'm like, let's do it because it's probably going to hurt. And then we're going to figure out which is best for us. That
Yeah.
goes for supplements, exercise, meditation, journaling, arguments, non arguments. I have to be like the guinea pig.
Yeah.
And then I have to torture. So that's my other role. I torture the people that I live with. And it honestly brings me a lot of joy. I remember when this lady, this old lady, not old, older, but she was at the pool with us, not in our pool, like at a community pool. And she was like, I've heard olive oil is a natural sunscreen. And I was like, cool. I've never heard that before. So I lathered up my husband with olive oil. I'm like, okay, just try it. Let's go to the pool. In like an hour and a half, he was the color of my shirt.
Oh my, yeah. It's ooh. When the minute you started that, I was like, oh.
Yeah. And so I like that. So my perception of me is I like to torture myself and I like to torture others.
Good. I like that. What an interesting journey. I love your answers. So, if anyone wants to get your book, Fill Your Soul the Feminine Way, they want to hire you, they want to reach out, they have questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
We can go. So Amazon has the book, Fill Your
Okay.
Soul the Feminine Way, and it's also on audio. So if
Okay.
you're not a reader, you get to hear me talk to you through the book, which I love.
Yeah.
That was fun to
Yeah.
really do that with a old friend of mine from my dance days. He recorded me.
Cool. Very
It was
cool.
so cool. And
Yeah.
then Instagram and Facebook, I'm at
Okay.
awakenchange.com. That's it.
So, but Lillian, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your
Thank
story.
you.
I love your answers, love what you're doing. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.